Hi, guys. Welcome back to the show. Welcome back to the Late Show. This is your host, Young Brando, live from Los Angeles. Um, we're going to talk watches because there's nothing better to do on a Saturday night. I think I'm going to continue my coverage of the Antiquorum auction that's coming up on May 14th in Geneva. But if you just want to jump on the panel and talk about watches or anything you would like, I'm very open to that as well. I want to keep things casual, I want to keep things open tonight, especially. Um, yeah, the last few times on the stream have been rough, um, but we got to keep going. This is lot 196. It is also the piece on my thumbnail. It's an early example of Patek Philippe Nautilus Jumbo 3700. As you probably know, the 3700 was introduced in 1976 as a response to Audemars Piguet's Royal Oak, designed by the same man, Gérald Jantin. In many ways, implementing similar principles in terms of the nautical inspired design, in terms of the concept of the stainless steel luxury watch, the contrast between grain brushed grain brushed and mirror polished surfaces. Even though I think there is a certain sense that um, Royal Oak is a little bit more on the brutal industrialist and modernist side of things, whereas the Nautilus is perhaps a little bit erring on the finer side of things. Um, Nevertheless, especially in the last 5, 6 years, the Nautilus has certainly stepped out of the Royal Oak's shadow, and in many ways also stepped out of the shadow of the complicated watches for which Patek has been known for generations, right? The kind of complications that defined the Stern ownership of the company already in the late 30s, the world time. Before that, the hand wound chronographs. After that, in the 1941, both the perpetual calendar and the perpetual calendar chronograph 1518, which was in fact the first serially produced perpetual calendar chronograph in the entire world. Patek was always known for these kinds of complications and for what they started doing in the 90s, which was also an increasing focus on everyday complications, on complications that were a little more accessible, not watered down by any means, but certainly a little more practical and more attuned to every day. Somehow, the Nautilus sidestepped all these points of legacy and intersection, uh, but it has certainly created waves, no pun intended, in the entire watch market, and really basically formed this trinity of hype with the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak and the Royal uh, Rolex Daytona. So this is an early example of this design. Has, as you can see, a kind of tropical dial, very well patinated, but I think preserves a lot of attraction. And this particular example, which was made in 1977 and sold in December of 1978, receives that highest grade, the initial of Antiquorum from them. I always post, as you guys know, a link to their glossary, basically, because they have a very good grading system, which unfortunately is not really supplemented well by detailed and various pictures. So it is absolutely necessary when you are looking in some detail into one of these examples. And as always, if you are genuinely interested, feel free to ask questions here. Of course, I'm not responsible for any auction houses listings. I'm not employed by them. I don't get anything from them whatsoever, not even help so far. But you can always, of course, reach out to them and ask more detailed questions, ask for and demand, in fact, more detailed pictures and information about a specific lot. This is lot 196, which has an estimated value of 91,000 to 136,000 in US dollars. Let me send you the link to the auction page as well. So if you want me to look in some sort of horological and historical detail into any of these lots, feel free to ask. Feel free to send in the lot number with a super chat, and I would be more than happy to respond. Lot 197 actually implements one of those everyday complications, one of those utilitarian complications that I talked about. The annual calendar, which is a proprietary complication for Patek, which they introduced for the first time in the world in 1996. And that was a way of making the perpetual calendar more accessible. A perpetual calendar, of course, once it's properly adjusted, as long as it keeps running, does not need a further correction until the next century, so to speak. The annual calendar, however, is a slightly more simplified version of that. Yet, unlike a triple calendar, it needs only one correction per year, since it cannot account for the leap year. It cannot account for the shorter month of February. So it is a calendar that you need to adjust as long as you keep it running only at the end of February. Other than that, here's a watch at 197, which is a Patek Philippe Nautilus annual calendar, reference 5726, that will show you the right day, date, month, and the precise phase of the moon as well. This particular example, of course, is in white gold. It's presented with gradient anthracite gray dial and on the leather strap. As you can see, there is an extra leather strap as well that comes as part of this set. And in fact, perhaps multiple. We will check that. So it seems, and certainly the certificate of origin, the original fitted box, and 3 extra leather straps. That's great. AAA, so it is in excellent condition. Sold in December 2011. This is the Patek Philippe annual calendar 5726. relatively early in the production, to be honest, because I believe this particular reference number was introduced in 2010. So lot 197 has an estimated value of 45,100 to 68,000 US dollars. At 198, we have the modern classic 5711, the now discontinued reiteration of the Nautilus Jumbo. Of course, it has a few differences from the original. First of all, it has a centrally deployed second hand, whereas the 3700 was a two-hander. It has furthermore an exhibition case back, and of course slight modifications in terms of the design and its bracelet, but for the most part, and especially in terms of its proportions, in terms of how it appears to the eye, which is not to say necessarily how it wears on the wrist, it is quite similar to the original. In so many ways, it is more popular because it is a more modern watch, and we are talking about a hype watch indeed. So for a certain kind of enthusiast, 3700 perhaps can be very interesting to invest in, to be involved in, to be chasing after. This particular example of the 5711, which was sold in December 2012, is similarly graded with the initial of Antiquorum. So it is, in so many ways, the best example they can source. And it is expected to realize a final hammer price of 79,000 to 114,000 in US dollars. Oh, very beautiful watch. This is a piece that was made in wartime and sold in 1945. A relatively oversized chronograph for its time, 1579. 36 millimeters, also has a relatively thin bezel, which gives it an appearance perhaps that's larger than the specs might betray. The spider-like lugs are also both a delight of design and very much enhancing of that presence, of that wrist presence, especially. We have square pushers and a kind of silvered dial that has aged into this cream-like shade. This is a kind of doctor's watch that has a pulsometer instead of a tachymeter, graduated for 15 pulsations. So you engage the chronograph, count up to 15, and when you stop, the chronograph seconds hand will settle right around the heart rate of your patient. As you can see, that chronograph hand, as well, that chronograph seconds hand, as well as the hand for the 30-minute totalizer, is beautifully heat blued. So they basically jump off that dial, even as they remain quite subtle otherwise, almost black. And we have Arabic numerals at 12 and 6, and these conical squares for the rest of the indices, and of course, continuous running seconds at 9 o'clock. In 18 karat pink gold, this is an absolute classic, built on the basis of a 13 ligne caliber by Valjoux, but of course assembled and exquisitely finished according to the standards you would expect from a Patek watch of that period. Of course, that is with the case back lifted, and here is how it actually looks. It has the initials LJ belonging presumably to a previous owner, if not necessarily the first owner. The case retains its shape for the most part, even though it's not the most crisp case I've ever seen. Certainly a beautiful specimen. This classic chronograph at 36 millimeter with a pulsation scale, Patek Philippe reference 1579 in 18 karat pink gold, is estimated to fetch an amount somewhere between 45,100 to 91,000 US dollars. Here's another absolute classic. This is a 1463 in a pink on pink version. We have to read the notes because it seems that there's a little bit of a confusion on this. All right. Without a doubt, the Patek 1463 is one of the most beautiful waterproof chronographs ever produced. This is the reference, by the way, that is always referred to as Tasti Tondi, not Tasty Tondi, although it is a delicious piece of work indeed. And that phrase, Tasti Tondi, is a reference to these round pushers, right? We were just looking at another kind of Patek Philippe chronograph, which had square, rectangular, I should say, pushers. This has those round conical pushers with a guilloche decoration for that extra grip. And those are very characteristic of this particular model. The cases were at the time sort of a sporty execution since they were waterproof, made by one François Bourgel. The case maker was François Bourgel. And as you can see, let's see if they have any pictures of the case back. They are weird. I mean, Antiquorum sometimes gives me fits. I love them a lot, but it's also just outrageous how randomly selected some of these pictures are. Okay. They don't have a picture of the screw down case back for one of the most iconic and important screw down case back waterproof cases of all time. Just great. Following the sale of a steel example with Breguet numerals, lot 200, November 5th, 2022, we are proud to offer another spectacular example, this time in pink gold, and is probably the nicest example we have ever offered. Not only is the case in spectacular condition, showing almost no polish with 2 mint hallmarks, but the owner decided that we wanted an extra pink gold dial. Watch was originally delivered with a silver dial as indicated on the extract. So he went on a very long quest to find an original extra pink gold dial. That is a spectacular match. He furthermore wanted a pink gold bracelet, so he was lucky enough to find a period correct Gueffrère riveted bracelet to add to an already breathtaking example. Scholars believe that only 145 examples were ever made in pink gold, making this piece a true collector's delight. So this configuration without the Gueffrère oyster bracelet with straight end links is the original. The watch is quite pleasing to the eye already in that configuration with very well preserved 35 millimeter 18 karat pink gold case with the characteristic round pushers, silver dial that has taken on a very nice and even patina. It looks perfectly creamy. Feuille hands, Arabic numerals at 12 and 6, and baton markers, as is usually the case, the centrally deployed seconds hand and the micro hand for the 30-minute totalizer is heat blued. The collector added this Gueffrère period correct oyster bracelet with straight end links, which I have to admit is a beautiful match. And apparently also a pink gold dial, which makes this one of the pink on pink bracelet type of examples. Of course, that's not its original condition, but you can consider it as an aesthetic added value, even though I think probably the most striking version is this. I think it would be just as well on a leather strap, but sometimes people want that extra weight. People want that extra substance, as you can see, and as the lot essay testifies to, it has very crisp hallmarks. So the case is indeed very well preserved. You can see how stylized those lugs are and how the contours of them are still quite crisp. And that is the Gueffrère bracelet in 18 karat pink gold as well. Yeah, certainly very, very well preserved in terms of its condition. Both dials have a tachometer on the perimeter, and the watch has an estimated value of 282,000 to 510,000 in US dollars. Lot 204 is a Jaeger-LeCoultre reference 858, the Memovox alarm wristwatch in stainless steel. It is one of the iconic alarm wristwatches, along with the Vulcain Cricket. It has the double crown, of course, one for adjusting the time, one for setting the alarm. At 3 o'clock, there's a window for the dates, and the JL logo, as well as the Jaeger-LeCoultre script, is placed right at 12 o'clock. .37 millimeters stainless steel. The general grades Antiquorum gives to it is a AA, very good. And the estimated value here is 2,300 to 4,600 in US dollars. Another great example, this is a later one with the JL I believe it's the later one, right? I don't want to mess this up. Yes, this is from 1970 roughly. Lot 205 is from 1972. I could tell that by how the JL logo migrated to 9 o'clock, which is something that Charlie Dunn taught me. Once again, you have a beautiful Soleil dial, a silver sunburst. Jejulecoultre script under 12 o'clock, a framed date window at 3, and a 37 millimeter stainless steel case. Beautiful, iconic watch, and quite a great deal, seemingly. Lot 205 for this piece. The estimated value is 1,150 to 2,300. If you want to educate yourself a little bit, you can listen to my conversation with Charlie Dunn about the Memovox. It's a relatively short and very engaging conversation. You will learn a lot, as I did, and as I previously did from Charlie's writings. Charlie is the director of content and really historian at Wind Vintage. He's really doing great things with Eric Wind, and also on uh, his own at Strictly Vintage Watches, which is where he puts a lot of his writing as well. So I highly recommend that you check him out. Hi, Basil. Thanks for coming, man. I appreciate you. So this is a great value here, roughly from 1972 at lot 205. A JLC Memovox reference 87542 for an estimated value of 1,150 to 2,300 in US dollars. Very cool Universal Genève compacts at lot 207. 35 millimeter yellow gold case. A dial that has seen better days. It is, however, so evenly patinated that I think it looks quite fine. The most important thing, again, is that it's not restored and that the multimeter scale chronograph dial remains extremely legible. We have the tachymeter on the periphery of that dial, and within it, in a concentric circle, you also have a telemeter. Telemeter was a chronograph scale that came really handy in the trenches. In a sense, if you heard someone, shelling your trench, you could engage the chronograph, and the minute it hits, if you stop, you roughly know how far they are in kilometers here. And the tachymeter scale is laid out in blue, telemeter in red on this patinated cream dial, 3-register chronograph with a 30-minute totalizer at 3 o'clock, a 12-hour counter at 6, and a running seconds subdial at continuously running seconds at 9 o'clock as well. Once again, all these chronograph hands are heat blued, even as, pardon me, the hour and minute hand is feuille leaf hands, matching the shade of the yellow gold case. It's a version of the compacts called Climate Proof. Unfortunately, they will have regretted having written that on the dial, but the condition, nevertheless, is very good for the age of this watch, coming from the 50s. Lot 207, Universal Genève Climate Proof compacts in 35 millimeter yellow gold, for an estimated value of 2,900 to 5,100 in US dollars. Here's another piece that almost looks like a time capsule. 1965, a Longines chronograph, the same multimeter scale layout with the tachometer on the periphery and the telemeter laid out once again in contrasting red, right next to it in a concentric circle. This time you have a 2-register layout with a 30-minute totalizer at 3 o'clock and continuous running seconds at 6. In a way, this is much more classical, much more traditional piece in pink gold, 36 millimeter case. And this Longines reference 7414 at lot 208 is expected to fetch an amount somewhere between 2,300 to 4,600 in US dollars. Another beautiful piece from right around the same time, this time with simply the tachometer laid out in blue, printed in blue on the periphery. A 2-register chronograph by Longines, built on the same 30CH hand-wound chronograph base. This is an 18-karat pink gold case in 36 millimeter. The reference in question this time is 7412. And this particular example actually has the added flyback functionality, which is actually very easy to explain, especially when you have a piece to demonstrate. Unfortunately, I have put my Breguet Type 20 away for the time being, but I'll be happy to show you next time. The idea is basically you can reset the chronograph without having to stop it first. So while the chronograph is engaged and running, you can push the reset button and it will snap back the chronograph seconds and reset it to 0. So you can time 2 events in quick sequence, because otherwise in a regular chronograph, you have to start, you have to stop, you have to reset, and you have to start again. Whereas in a flyback chronograph, you just press the reset button, you just press that one button, and everything is reset and starts flowing right away, which is a cool trick. Mostly it's something for us to nerd out at this point, but those things actually came in handy when these pieces were used as tools, were used basically as the navigation system in air. So that kind of operation, smooth, spontaneous, and at hand, was of vital importance to the pilots, to the navigators who use these pieces as genuine instruments. So Lot 209 is a Longines flyback chronograph from mid 60s, reference 7412 in an 18 karat pink gold case of 36 millimeter diameter. It has an estimated value of 2,300 to 4,600 in US dollars. From around the same period, we have an even more oversized piece at 37 millimeters in a two-tone execution of sorts. The case is very muscular and it is in stainless steel with these stepped lugs. However, both the pushers and the crown, not to mention the fixtures, the furniture of the dial is in these gilt tones, which adds a little bit more of a visual interest to the watch. The tachometer scale is written out in blue on the periphery of the dial, and you also have this Fab Suisse writing right under the logo, which tells us that it was intended for the French market. Once again, this is a manual wind flyback chronograph, so it has that flyback functionality for instant reset, for the ability to time events in quick sequence. A Lot 210, a Longines oversized stainless steel flyback chronograph in a 37 millimeter case, reference 5966. The pre-auction estimate is 2,300 to 4,600 in US dollars. A lot of beautiful chronographs from Longines in this time period in the 60s, and you see how well preserved and beautiful they are, and that testifies to me, for me, to two things. One, the kind of collector that Longines attracts. They are very conscious, very intentional. They take good care of these pieces as part of a long-standing heritage. And of course, it says something about the build quality of these watches. I say this about vintage Rolex watches all the time. You know, we can go out, you know, take a week, take a month, scourge the earth, and choose 10 best examples, say from the 60s, that you can find. 10 from Rolex watches, 10 from others. 6 times out of 10, if not more, the Rolex watch will be in a better condition than its contemporary, and that, I think, says something about their quality, and about the sheer leap forward that the Oyster case presented early on, especially in the 50s, but still also in the 60s and beyond. This is a very unique and classic piece with T lugs, a hand wound hand wound Patek dress watch, reference 2592 in a 33 millimeter white gold case with the T lugs or T bar lugs, as you can see. You can think of the T bar as, being pretty similar to the Vendome lugs that you see on Cartier watches, especially in the contemporary line. The Pasha is a great example of that. You can think of the T bar as a Vendome styled lug without the middle lip. It's very stylish, I think. The way it shows off the leather strap or vice versa, I think it's very attractive. Otherwise, a perfectly round piece, very balanced, just a two-hander, very clean dial, as you can see. This is a white gold Patek Philippe dress watch in 33 millimeters, very well preserved from Patek Philippe, with a pre-auction estimate of 4,000 to 6,200 in US dollars. We come across one of my favorite genres of watches. I love the 60s dress pieces by Vacheron Constantin. Still relatively under the radar, still heavily underrated. This is a reference 6803. As you can see, the dial has seen better days, but once again, it is largely fine. A perfect three-hander with centrally deployed sweep seconds, 36 millimeter stainless steel case. Could be a great everyday watch. I think it is in a stunning condition. And its estimated value is 5,100 to 7,400 at lots 215. Here's a beautiful Santos Octagonal. It is a version of the Cartier Santos with an octagonal bezel. Here, it is presented on a matching 18 karat yellow gold bracelet. The dial is very well preserved. A silver dial, round dial with Roman numerals, railroad track for the minute track. And this is a 24 millimeter piece, so it is a ladies' watch from 1980s. An octagonal Santos at lot 220, 18 karat yellow gold with the matching bracelets, a self-winding movement. The pre-auction estimate is 1,700 to 2,900 in US dollars. we have from the 1970s an interesting Universal Genève watch with a semi-precious stone dial, a golden shadow, lyre lugs, a stepped bezel on a round case, which is in 18 karat yellow gold and is right around 35 millimeters. The golden shadow is a beautiful, ultra thin, very elegant dress watch. And here it is presented in a unique configuration with a stone dial, which you don't necessarily see every day. This is lot 224, a reference 166140, Universal Genève Golden Shadow ultra thin dress watch in a 35 millimeter 18 karat yellow gold case and a semi-precious stone dial. The pre-auction estimate is 2,300 to 4,600 in US dollars. At 225, we have an early example of Anderson Genève World Time. The case design is not coincidental at all. As you guys know, before Sven Andersen set out on his path towards independence, he spent about 9 years with Patek Philippe, and I think he was most enchanted with what the Louis Cotier World Time complication presented. And this is a tradition that carries into our day. But here, he basically presented an homage to the original World Time wristwatch that Patek Philippe realized with the help of Louis Cotier's concept, Louis Cotier's complication, the 1415 HU for Heure Universelle. In this case, you have a series ring that is a rotational bezel. And as a tip of the hat to the watchmaker's Danish origins here, you have Copenhagen, Tröbenhaven, who that is represented on the dial, which is very beautiful, of course, and very unique. I don't think you see Copenhagen on a city's ring for a World Time very often. You have the bicolor 24-hour ring 2 inside, and at the center you have a map of the globe with gold beads for the indices. The beautiful, smooth Dauphine hands complete the picture. This is 33, I think, or 32 millimeter, in fact, even closer to the original case with those teardrop lugs, just like the original 1415 HU. From 1919, this was a model that they called Communications. And it was built on a Frédéric Piguet 951 caliber, as it's indicated here. It took Sven Andersen a couple more years to actually devise an in-house caliber for the World Time complication. So this is a very important, I would say historically important piece for the right kind of collector, and it might present a great value, certainly represents a great style. Lot 225, Sven Andersen World Time, the 1990 Communications edition, his first stab at the concept as an independent in a 32 millimeter yellow gold case that harkens back to Patek Philippe 1415 HU. We have a pre-auction estimate of 2,300 to 4,600 in US dollars. At that level, it is an absolute steal. Hopefully, hey, no one's watching, right? So maybe the one or two people who are actually paying attention, you might have something good on your hands at lot 225. At lot 230, we have one of my favorite wristwatches, actually. This is a reference 25670, but there are many references that present the same concept by Audemars Piguet. This is, by some accounts, the watch that saved AP, that got Audemars Piguet through the 80s. It is the perpetual calendar in a round case that is designed by Jacqueline Dimier, who was a protege to Gérard Jantin and who led the design department at Audemars Piguet for quite some time. This is a 36 millimeter, in this case, yellow gold case with a stepped bezel and very elegant but stubby lugs. A silver dial here, perfectly balanced with the moon phase at 6 o'clock and the three calendar subdials slightly recessed with the pointer date at 3 o'clock, the months at 12 o'clock, and the day of the week at 9. The pencil hands give you an uninterrupted uh, view of the calendrical functions, the calendar indicators, and that distinction between the gold hands and the heat blued stainless gold hands for the hours and minutes and the heat blued stainless steel micro hands for the calendar functions also improve legibility in contrast to the silvered dial. The piece actually comes with a presentation box, and at lot 230, this Audemars Piguet perpetual calendar in a 36 millimeter yellow gold case with the reference number 25670 is expected to fetch an amount somewhere between 11,300 to 16,900 in US dollars. As you remember, in this edition of Watches and Wonders, which took place only about a month ago in Geneva, it seems like yesterday on the one hand, also maybe a few news cycles behind already. But here is the Vacheron Constantin with the concept they presented, they foregrounded, they underlined at the most recent edition of Watches and Wonders, which was the retrogrades. We have here a patrimony in a 37 millimeter platinum case with the day date function and with a retrograde date hand, which points the date on a fan-like scale in the upper half of the dial and which of course snaps back at the beginning of the month. And you also have in the subdial at 6 a pointer for the day of the week. The case has beautiful stepped lugs, a black guilloche dial with this diamond-like pattern, which is a beautiful contrast to the platinum case. And for the indices, for the hour markers, Roman numerals alternate with these oversized dots. A very elegant and functional watch. At lot 231, Vacheron Constantin reference 42245. Patrimony day dates with retrograde date indicator in a 37 millimeter platinum case with an estimated value of 13,600 to 18,100 in US dollars. At lot 234, we have another beautiful watch by Vacheron Constantin. This is their chronograph from the previous generation. A reference 49150, second generation of the Vacheron Constantin overseas, which comes with its original fitted box, warranty certificate, and passport, as well as a USB key. The 42 millimeter case is presented here on a rubber strap, which matches the matte blue dial. There are a few aesthetic aspects that I really like about this chronograph. One is this you can see in the subdial that they are in different sizes. You have this big eye look that is emphasized by the 30-minute totalizer. Then you have a smaller 12-hour counter at 9 o'clock, yet even smaller, the continuous running seconds at 6. Of course, this model has a slightly different case design. The bezel is a little different, has more notches, let's put it like that very quickly. And the case back is solid with a depiction of a sailboat, and you actually have a big date at 12 rather than a date window between 4 and 5, which was already introduced in later iterations of the second generation chronograph, but which became now part and parcel of the design of the model line. This is lot 234, a Vacheron Constantin overseas chronograph from the previous generation with the blue dial and a matching rubber band in stainless steel. This piece has an estimated value of 16,900 to 28,200 US dollars. At lot 236, we have a lovely piece by A. Lange & Söhne, reference 302025. a 37 millimeter platinum case on a black leather strap and matched with a proper platinum Alangunzune tank buckle. The piece comes with its original fitted box, warranty certificate, and instruction booklet, as it should, since this is an anniversary edition. Piece that is one of 500, a 105 out of 500 specifically. Beautiful enamel dial with those slightly elongated, clearly oversized Roman numerals. Heat blued alpha hands for the hours and minutes. Heat blued seconds hand on a sub dial at 6 o'clock, and the Roman numeral 12 at noon or midnight is actually inscribed in red, which is a very beautiful and striking detail. This is lot 236, a Langematic anniversary edition, one of 500 in platinum. The estimated value is 45,100 to 68,000 in US dollars. At lot 237, we have another Langematic Saxomat. This time, we have a watch that's a little sportier with a black dial, an oversized second subdial at 6, loomed alpha hands for hours and minutes. There is also additional pips of loom at those quarters, which have doubled indices. And the oversized date, which has become emblematic of the brand, is placed at 12 o'clock. And you have a pusher at 10 o'clock as a corrector for that date, which you can use to just play around or simply cycle through the dates. It's a beautiful, beautiful 37 millimeter white gold case with a slight nick right there, as you can see, right above 2 o'clock. But otherwise, the watch seems in a beautiful condition. And it is quite a bargain at that, with the estimated value 9,100 to 13,600 in US dollars. At lot 239, we have a Audemars Piguet 8e perpetual calendar chronograph. I feel that this particular line has been extremely underrated. And this particular complication, I think, fits it really well. This piece actually comes with its certificate of origin from 1995 in an 18-karat pink gold case, which has the engraving Audemars Piguet right on the bezel at around 12 o'clock. A tachometer is represented on the periphery of the dial. You have the moon phase indicator at 3 o'clock, the day of the week, as well as the 12-hour counter at 6 o'clock, the 30-minute totalizer, leap year indicator, and the months at 9 o'clock, and finally the continuous running seconds and pointer date at 12 o'clock. The chronograph hands are in red for contrast, which sets them off from the rest of the indicators and creates a largely legible piece. Very elegant, very well preserved, and certainly not the kind of Audemars Piguet that you see everywhere. Certainly one for the enthusiast. An AP UTM Quantième Perpétuel, the perpetual calendar chronograph, in fact, with an estimated value of 22,600 to 33,800 in US dollars. We have a simple chronograph version. This is built on the base of a Frédéric Piguet caliber. We have the platinum version with that matte blue dial. I think it is a striking example indeed, with once again the Audemars Piguet branding, Audemars Piguet signature presented on the bezel as an engraving, the tachometer on the perimeter. You have a date at 3 o'clock with a magnifier. You have triple branding because you have next to that date window the AP initials, and then right under the window you have the writing Audemars Piguet automatic, 12-hour counter at 6 o'clock, 30-minute totalizer at 9 o'clock, and continuous running seconds at 12. 40 millimeter platinum case and a beautiful blue dial. Comes with a service case, certificate of authenticity, which was issued in 2022, and a service warranty card on a dark blue alligator strap with a slightly contrasting blue stitching. A very elegant, very striking piece. This is the AP reference 25644 PT, the UTM chronograph in platinum with the blue dial. It is expected to realize a final hammer price somewhere between 16,900 to 28,200. At 243, we have once again a very underrated chronograph from Vacheron Constantin. This chronograph is actually built on the same base, on the same base of the Frédéric Piguet 1185 as the Vacheron Constantin Overseas second generation chronograph we just looked at. And you can probably already tell that by the dial layout, which has the big date at 12 o'clock, the 30-minute totalizer at 3 o'clock, continuous running seconds at 6, and the 12-hour counter at 9. The case has this tonneau shape with stepped lugs that harken back to the talon of a Maltese falcon, the Maltese cross being the symbol of this heritage brand, which happens to be the oldest watchmaker that has been continuously running with these stylized Arabic numerals. The piece has a vibe that arrives from the roaring 20s, from the last century to our roaring 20s. This is lot 243, Vachon Constantin, reference 49145, a Royal Eagle chronograph in stainless steel with an estimated value of 9,600 to 14,100 in US dollars. You can find them for much cheaper in the secondary market, so I would not necessarily mess with this lot, which does come with a fitted box as well as the product literature and the international warranty. We have a lot of interesting pocket watches here, which I am passing over. But if you want me to pay attention to any one of them, feel free to send me a super chat with a specific lot number, and I would be more than happy to do that for you. A lot of interesting Grand Petite Sonnerie watches, chiming pocket watches of other kinds. A lot of interesting clocks. Other pockets and pendant watches. Music boxes. I love the variety that Antiquorum always has to offer. It's perhaps quirkier than the contemporary watch auctions that we have come to appreciate and follow, but it always offers something new, something different, something that connects us to various forms of mechanical arts and handcrafts that have been part of watchmaking for centuries. We can think of enameling, we can think of engine turning, we can think of the kind of mechanisms and even automata to which the watches were linked to, and sometimes, in fact, it was the same makers that made them. Like we saw, for example, here, Courvoisier snuff box with a built-in watch. They were, of course, also making watches. A music box by the same brand earlier. And again, a lot of these are made for the Chinese market, right? Which uh, wasn't just invented in the 21st century, one needs to remember, right? A lot of heritage makers made beautiful pocket watches and other horological accessories for the Chinese market in the 19th century. Beauvais, for example, has generations, has centuries of history in providing timepieces for the Chinese market that go all the way back to the 19th. Right? Made for the Chinese market, automaton and musical snuff box attributable to Piguet et Mylan. So, and Mylans, still exist today. They own, among other companies, H. Moser and Otlans. So, and I guess I don't need to dwell too much on Piguet to talk about the various branches of that family and how it relates to our horological presence. But there's, of course, the movement maker Frédéric Piguet, whose son Jacques Piguet revived Blancpain with Jean-Claude Biver. And as you might know, after the Swatch Group acquisition, the Frédéric Piguet caliber manufacturer was folded into Blancpain in the same way that Nouvelle Le Mania was folded into Breguet. And of course, Audemars Piguet is the coming together of two families, Audemars and Piguet. So there is that illustrious history. We're back to the world of wristwatches. Lot 307 is Rolex's dabbling in integrated stainless steel pieces. This is the oyster quartz Datejust, reference 17,000, with the integrated version of the oyster bracelet, which I think gives the watch a very sporty look, combined with the smooth bezel. A clean silver, sunburst dial, and of course a quartz movement as well. The watch is in very good condition, as they identify here. They recommend an overhaul of the movement, which is something to be kept in mind. Thankfully, Rolex still services their quartz pieces. Something to keep in mind still, of course, but it is important. They're not just a throwback. They are becoming collectible in their own rights. And here is a very good example at lot 307 of Rolex Oyster Quartz. They just referenced 17,000. The piece has a pre-auction estimate of 3,400 to 5,700 in US dollars. Speaking of the different kinds of things that Antiquorum offers us at lot 308. You have a set of 8 bezels for the Rolex GMT Master. That's again GMT Master specifically, so the reference numbers 1675, the 4-digit reference, and the 16700, which was the transitional version of the GMT Master after the GMT Master 2 was introduced. So you get the Pepsi, the red and blue. You get a Coke with a faded pink for the red and a kind of navy blue for the black. I love the way these aluminum bezels fade and age over time. It gives them a lot of character. My GMT Master 2, as you might know, has a bezel exactly like this. Yeah, half of the pictures are gone, unfortunately, but here's a fresh version of that Coke bezel, for example. But it's really a shame how they utterly fail at their selection, lack of detail, and shoddy uploading of the pictures. That's certainly a negative point for Antiquorum. This is lot 308 for a set of 8 Rolex GMT Master inserts for references 1675 and 16700, 1 black, 5 blue and red, and 2 red and black. So 1 black, 5 Pepsi, and 2 Coke. This is sold without reserve at lot 308, so the bidding will start at 1 franc, but the estimated value of this set is 1,150 to 2,300 in US dollars. Please hit the like button. We are about almost 2 hours into our night shift today, so any help is appreciated. That like button helps me boost this video, helps me expand this channel bit by bit, and you all know that I put the work in, so hitting the like button is free. Please go ahead, because it makes a great difference for me without taking much from you. All help is appreciated, all contributions welcome, and sometimes the like is just as important, just as it is for you to spread the word, to share the link, to send out the contents to friends and associates and other collectors. I would really appreciate it if you could help me expand this community that is built out of pure love, pursuit of knowledge, and passion for wristwatches. This is a great piece as well at lot 310. You have a 7205, the riveted oyster bracelets. Will fit most Rolex sports watches as well as chronographs such as the reference 6239, among others. Great piece from 1968, riveted oyster bracelets. This is a piece with an estimated value of 950 to 1,700 in US dollars. As you can see, a lot of interesting dials here. Panda Daytona dial for a reference 6239 at lot 312 for an estimated value of 4,600 to 6,800 in US dollars, made by Zynga. For references 6263, 6265 at lot 313, we have a reverse panda, so black background with subtly recessed and beautifully radially guillocheted silver subdials. That has an estimated value of 3,400 to 5,700 in US dollars. You have a feet first Submariner dial with the red writing. This is lot 314, reference number 1680. Would be lovely for an earlier 70s piece if it's missing the period correct red Submariner dial, which a lot of them lost in service, as you probably know the stories. This is lot 314, Submariner dial with the red writing for reference 1680, with an estimated value of 2,300 to 4,600 in US dollars. And we are back to watches, and what watches indeed. At lot 317, we have a Oyster chronograph 4500. This is a 36 millimeter stainless steel case built on the base of a Valjoux 23 movement, a multimeter scale with the tachometer on the periphery of the dial. In a concentric circle, you have the telemeter scale printed in blue, a 2-register chronograph with those subdials, the 2 registers, subtly recessed and beautifully guillocheted for contrast and added legibility. And you have Arabic numerals alternating with arrow markers for the hours. A beautiful piece at lot 317, a Rolex Oyster chronograph, reference 4500 in a 36 millimeter stainless steel case with an estimated value of 16,900 to 22,600 in US dollars. You have the same reference number in a 2-tone execution. The dial has seen some humidity ingress, but it's not entirely undesirable. And certainly in either case, it is better than a restored dial. Here you have a 2-tone execution, as I mentioned, which means you have a beautifully polished pink gold bezel, which is complemented by a pink gold crown. A Rolex reference 4500 with a 36 millimeter case in a 2-tone execution between 18 karat pink gold and stainless steel. We have an estimated value of 16,900 to 22,600 for this hand-wound chronograph, which is built on the base of Valjoux caliber 23. At 320, we have a small crown Submariner, reference 6536. As you can see, before the crown guards were introduced, but with a small crown, unlike the 6538, which has a bigger crown for better grip, which we call thus the big crown. This is the 6536, has a beautiful gilt dial with red writing for the depth rating as well. The luminous pip has unfortunately fallen off and has also cracked the bezel, but the watch overall has a beautifully authentic look and is in otherwise great condition. Even if it's not perfect, it is authentic and oozes with vintage charm. This piece is from mid 50s and comes on its original riveted oyster bracelets. It is expected to fetch at lot 320 an amount somewhere between 45,100 to 68,000 in US dollars. Hey, Fries. My regards to Brussels. Nice to see that you made your way home, at least for the moment. At 321, we have one of my most favorite versions of the Submariner. This is an early 5513 that has a lot of interesting elements that it combines. First of all, it is a gilt dial. Of course, meters first, that writing itself coming out in that gilt accent. The crown guards have this pointed finish like a beak. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, the piece has a so-called explorer dial or a 369 dial, which has the Arabic numerals at 3, 6, and 9 o'clock. Unfortunately, that dial is an aftermarket dial. So as beautiful as it looks, it takes away from the genuine value of the piece, even though it is otherwise a case that is well preserved and presented on its original bracelets. The hands also have apparently been reloomed to match this style. And the pre-auction estimate is 16,900 to 28,200 US dollars. Great aesthetics, but I think very questionable value as a vintage collectible, since it has an aftermarket dial. If I ended up with a piece like this, I would much rather try to find or try to source a period correct and unabused, unmessed with dial in decent condition, rather than an aftermarket one that looks cool at first blush but is not authentic to the watch. At lot 322, we have a very cool GMT Master. with a minor defect in my book. The piece is otherwise well preserved with a good case, presented on a matching stainless steel Jubilee bracelets, a all black bezel for this GMT Master. The hands, however, are reloomed, which more or less matches the luminous material on the dial, but on a second look, it really doesn't. And again, it is something that messes with the originality of the watch. I would much rather get something with the original hands and original dial than something that has been modified in this way. This is lot 322, reference 1675 Rolex GMT Master with the black bezel inserts. The hands have been reloomed, so the estimate reflects that, and it is between 7,400 to 10,700 in US dollars. At lot 325, we have an example of the Hulk, which has now been discontinued already for almost 4 years. This is the reference 116610LV for Lunette Verte, of course, as a revision to the 50th anniversary Submariner, the so-called Kermit, which had the reference number 16610LV. This piece also has a sunburst green dial. It took a little while for the Hulk to really hit. I think people thought it was too out there initially. Maybe they didn't realize how subtle is it actually is in most lighting conditions. Really, both the bezel and the dial can register mostly as black, except when the light hits them directly, which creates, I think, a very beautiful effect, because that sunburst is so much more valuable when it really shines when the sun hits it. Even though, of course, that's not where the name comes from. The name actually comes from the sunray style finish that was applied to this particular these kinds of dials, and it's simply called soleil in French. So that's where it comes, sunray finish or sunburst finish dial. But I think the Hulk was for a long time underrated. It became very much hyped after it was discontinued. It is once again settling into a decent price range. So depending on where and how you find it in good condition, this might be a decent time to buy one if you have always desired one. This is a full set, original box, warranty card, the product literature, hang tag, and additional links. At lot 325, we have a Rolex Submariner Hulk, reference 116610LV from 2012, with an estimated value of 16,600 to 26,700. A lot of interesting clocks again, and other kinds of horological objects, pockets, pendant watches. At 342, we have perhaps the most underrated iteration of the Patek Philippe perpetual calendar in modern time. This is from 1995. What we have here is a 36 millimeter tonneau shaped case. So in a way, it wears a little bigger than that. In this case, in 18 karat pink gold with a silver dial, applied Breguet numerals that match the tones of the case, a pointer date at 6 o'clock, which embraces the moon phase indicator within it, month indicator at 3 o'clock with the leap year indicator ensconced in it, and finally the day of the week at 6 o'clock with a 24-hour indicator, day and night indicator within it. All this is completed with a set of Breguet style hands for hours and minutes to match, as it were, the applied Breguet numerals, railroad track on the periphery for the minutes. It's a beautiful watch. It is a perpetual calendar that is built on the base of the micro rotor caliber 240. And of course, this is a version coming as it does from 1995 that has been finished, assembled, and regulated to the highest standards that are expected from a watch that carries the hallmark of Geneva. A beautiful piece, underrated, undervalued. You don't get a Patek perpetual calendar at this price range unless it is in this shape, unless it belongs to this reference number. This is 5040 R in pink gold with an estimated value of 28,200 to 39,400 at lot 342. Another neo-vintage beauty from Patek Philippe, 33 millimeter Calatrava in an 18 karat pink gold case with a stunning black dial, applied Breguet numerals and Breguet hands for hours and minutes to match the case, and an off-center second subdial that is placed right between 4 and 5 o'clock. A piece that is a modern classic, a watch that is at once quite conventional and formal, but also quirky and full of character. A beautiful, traditionally sized Calatrava at lot 344. Reference 5000 by Patek Philippe in 18 karat pink gold with a black gold case. Gold beads for the minute track as well. The watch has so many beautiful details, and it has a pre-auction estimate of 10,200 to 14,700 in US dollars. At 346, we have once again a relatively underrated perpetual calendar from Patek in an 18 karat yellow gold, 35 millimeter round case. Again, a very classical piece of design. A silver opaline dial, maybe that verges on cream. Roman numerals for the indices. Feuille hands for hours and minutes. You have a centrally deployed second sand, a moon phase indicator at 6 o'clock, a leap year indicator at 12, a month indicator at 3, and day of the week at 9. The minute track is laid out in gold beads and in the form of a downward facing crescent. Mostly in the upper half of the dial, you have a retrograde date scale, which of course snaps back at the beginning of the month to 1. Once again, a beautiful piece, an underrated and undervalued Patek Philippe perpetual calendar. This is the reference 5050. Great counterpart again to 5040, another undervalued perpetual calendar that we just covered. This particular example at lot 346 comes with its fitted box, certificate of origin, and the added solid gold case back, as you can see. If you want that additional heft, if you want to cover up the exhibition case back for whatever reason. And this piece has an estimated value of 28,200 to 51,000 in US dollars at lot number 346. Hey, Memovox. Nice to say good morning to a Sunday morning in Europe, Brussels, Copenhagen. I'm very proud to have such a diverse group of viewers from all around the world. At 347, we have a Patek Philippe Gondola, a 5030P in platinum, Breguet numerals, Breguet hands, centrally deployed second sand, a sweeping center second sand, and a date window at 3. Again, you have that distinctive tonneau-shaped case. This particular example comes with its certificate of origin, and it is valued at around 13,600 to 20,300 in US dollars. At lot 348, we have the first annual calendar reference from Patek Philippe, which is 5035. Here we have a later version about 8 years into the production cycle. This is a 5035G in a 37 millimeter white gold case, a black dial. The feuille hands as well as the Roman numerals are actually filled with luminous material. We have a date window at 6, a 24-hour hand right above it, uh, the indicator for the month at 3 roughly, and then at 9 roughly speaking we have the day of the week, a railroad style track for minutes and seconds. This is a very pure and elegant expression of Patek's first stab at the annual calendar, lot 348, with an estimated value of 19,200 to 24,800 in US dollars. Please hit the like button. It really, really helps. It makes a lot of difference for me. I appreciate your help. At 349, we have again another legendary reference. This is the 3970 EP. The 3970 is one of the highest points of elegance, miniaturization, and complication for Patek. You have 36 millimeter waterproof platinum case in this particular example, a black dial that has brilliant diamonds for the indices with baguettes at 12. In addition to the perpetual calendar functions, of course, you have the 2-register chronograph, since this was still a piece built on that Nouvelle Lemania CH27 base. As I have explored and highlighted in a previous auction, namely the Dubai edit by Christie's. This was Iron Mike Tyson's choice, except at the service, he requested the dial to be changed from that original black diamond set to one with oversized Arabic numerals. The handset was also changed to these feuille hands to match the aesthetic. So the end product looks more like a 5004P rather than the 3970 EP. But this is great out of the box, if you ask me. You get here the box, certificate of origin, and the product literature. You get the classic 36 millimeter platinum case with the stepped lugs and the smooth domed bezel. And you get a beautifully diamond set, striking black dial, which gives the watch this beautiful contrast and a certain friction that makes it a little more exciting. For 349, the estimated value is 114,000 to 170,000 for this 36 millimeter perpetual calendar chronograph in platinum by Patek Philippe, 3970 EP. At lot 350, we have a 5711R This is the pink gold version of the modern Nautilus Jumbo with a gradient brown dial. It's from 2019, so it has the new caliber 26-330 SC. Of course, 5711 is now discontinued. This particular piece is quite stunning and very well preserved, it seems. It has their initial as the highest grade that they can bestow, and everything is presented as new. Lot 350 at 5711R with caliber 26-330 as a full set. The piece is expected to realize a final hammer price between 124,000 to 182,000 US dollars. At lot 352, we have an example of the Navitimer that was designed to increase the waterproofness of the piece. As you might know, Breitling's particular construction with the slide rule bezel actually makes the case a little more compromising, a little more prone to water and humidity ingress than even the average vintage chronograph, even the average chronograph of its time. This is a 48 millimeter case, so it is positively huge, monster, quite a unit. But this was their take in reference 1809. It also takes after the so-called cosmonaut, the 24-hour dial design that Scott Carpenter personally requested before his mission. He was part of the Mercury 7, the first American to orbit in space. And with the Navitimer cosmonaut on his wrist, which was the regular model, not this particular iteration, he was also wearing the first Swiss watch in space. This is lot 352, an interesting iteration of the Breitling cosmonaut, but you can see how that increased waterproofing and increased sealing of the case has given you an almost perfect dial, arriving all the way back from the 70s. We have an estimated value of 3,400 to 5,700 for the reference 1809 cosmonaut with the 24-hour dial in stainless steel. I mean, just as a point of comparison, look at how the luminous material has faded on this 7806, which comes from even later than that oversized cosmonaut that we were looking at. And it is otherwise very well preserved too, don't take me wrong, but that is the main disadvantage with Navitimers. The slide rule bezel just makes the watch a little, much less water resistant than even a lot of other chronographs. At lot 354, we have a Speedmaster Apollo 11 in 18 karat yellow gold from the 80s with a matching bracelet, a champagne dial. The hands as well as the indices are black for contrast, and so is the tachometer bezel that is inserted in a ring. This is the reference 3450802. The piece is expected to fetch an amount somewhere between 15,800 to 20,300 in US dollars. It comes with its presentation box, if not necessarily with the papers. That was lot 354. 18 karat yellow gold Speedmaster from 1980s with the 861 movement, very well preserved, with an estimated value of 15,800 to 20,300. We have an interesting new old stock Speedmaster at lot 359. This is a reference 3570 from 1985, presented on its original Velcro strap with the case back and even lug stickers intact. Absolutely pristine, just with the right amount of patina on the dial, with the fading and disintegration of the luminous material. Very romantic look for this piece that was built on the caliber 1861 from 1985 as a full set and in new old stock condition. This piece has an estimated value of 6,800 to 11,300 in US dollars at lot 359. $360 is an Ultraman. It comes with an extract from the archives confirming the orange hand. This is a piece from 1968 from the late 1960s, sold to Ivory Coast in the June of 1968. It is assigned an Antiquorum initial for both its condition and rarity. Arrives on a flat link bracelet, the 1039/516 bracelet specifically. It has the caliber 321 in a 42 millimeter lyre lug case made by Huguenin Frères, and the centrally deployed chronograph seconds hand is in orange. So, and that is confirmed by the archival extract. It is original. This piece has an estimated value of 22,600 to 45,100 in US dollars at lot 360. At lot 363, we have another pre-moon Speedmaster, namely the reference 145012-67. The beating heart of this watch is an Omega 321 caliber. That is the Moonwatch caliber, based in its turn on the Lemania CH27. This watch also comes in the 42 millimeter lyre lug case, which has become almost synonymous in the contemporary imagination with the Speedmaster case. This particular example at lot 363 has an estimated value of 2,900 to 5,100 in US dollars. Welcome to the show. All the people who are newly arriving, good morning. Please hit the like button. It really helps. I am entering almost the last hour of my broadcast, so if you can encourage me, if you can push me through this, I would really appreciate it. It's been a pretty difficult last few days, so any help and encouragement is welcome. This is lot 364. A Broad Arrow Speedmaster comes with an extract from the archives. A beautiful piece. Produced July 1959. Delivered to the US Army. Built on the base of Lemania CH27. So beating with the Moonwatch caliber 321, even though it is a much earlier iteration of the model before it was even certified by NASA. A very beautiful and original version of the Speedmaster. Very close to how it was initially conceived. This is an Omega reference CK2915, a Broad Arrow Speedmaster from 1959 that was first sold to the US Army through the European exchange system. This particular example is expected to realize a final hammer price of 57,000 to 91,000 in US dollars. I'm continuing my review, or my preview rather, of the upcoming spring auction of Antiquorum in Geneva that is going to take place on May 14 and May 15. At lot 365, we have another example of the Speedmaster from 1982, an Omega reference 14022 with a prototype dial, white with subdials that have black outer rings, which of course match and resonate with that tachometer bezel insert. The piece has the looks of a Panda Daytona rather than the rather monochromatic face that we are used to from the Speedmaster as it has become canonized. The dial was made by Zinga, and this particular piece is once again from 1982, has the grades initialed by Antiquorum, and it is expected to fetch an amount somewhere between 22,600 to 45,100 in US dollars. At 370, we have a very beautiful example of a Breguet Type 20 in stainless steel. Excellent preserved case with those angular lugs. These, remember, are the OG pieces as they were sold by Breguet to civilians as well as supplied to the air forces of the French Navy. This particular example has a rotational bezel entirely graduated to 60 minutes and the big eye 2-register layout, which has continuous running seconds at 9 and a 15-minute counter at 3 o'clock in an oversized fashion. The Arabic numerals are greatly complemented by the syringe hands for a characterful and vintage infused look. Of course, these watches are much more butch compared to the more stylized reissues that were introduced already by Investcorp leadership in mid-90s, and that were also, of course, produced by the Swatch Group after their takeover up until 2018, if I'm not mistaken. That's when the Type 20 was discontinued in steel. Of course, these original versions, which should be actually expressed in Arabic numerals, type 2020 rather than XX, were actually hand wound and built on the Valjoux 235 base, meaning basically Valjoux 23 with the added flyback function. This is once again lot 320, a Breguet type 20 from late 70s. The piece has an estimated value of 9,100 to 13,600. Could be an interesting target of opportunity, especially towards the lower end of that estimate. At 371, we have a Lemania monopusher chronograph made for the Italian Marine Hydrographic Survey, Istituto Idrografico della Marina, a white dial with Arabic numerals and syringe hands, 2 registers, a 30-minute counter at 3 o'clock, and a continuous running seconds at 9. A very no-nonsense, elegant, and classical expression of the 2-register monopusher chronograph, here presented in a 38 millimeter stainless steel case at lot 371. We have a pre-auction estimate of 4,600 to 6,800 in US dollars. A very elegant ladies' watch by Piaget at 373. Beautiful piece that comes with its original receipt, as it happens. A hand-wound caliber, 28 millimeter diameter. It has a bezel, this square watch, that is set with 3 rows of diamonds on an 18 karat white gold case and a stunning onyx dial. With the matching Piaget buckle in 18 karat gold, 18 karat white gold. Lot 373 has an estimated value of 2,300 to 4,600 in US dollars. We have a lovely Patek Philippe rectangular watch at 374, a reference 3571 with an engraved blue dial, an integrated white gold bracelet that has a texture akin to lizard skin, a very well preserved example. The trick with a lot of these integrated bracelet dress watches from a bygone time is their length. Since a lot of these bracelets were cut down to size, if you have a big wrist, it might be a fool's errand to try to source something and then try to find ways of extending the bracelet, which is not impossible, but does not always produce the best results, and is most certainly a costly process. Um, in either case, if you have a slimmer wrist and if you like this sort of um, dainty dress watches, these are great value. This particular piece has an estimated value of 4,000 to 6,200 in US dollars, and most certainly has a great amount of artisanal work on it that you would be hard pressed to find in a modern Patek unless you are moving into six figures and above. At lot 376, we have another integrated bracelet dress piece. This is a perfectly round 34 millimeter pink gold case that is matched with a 5-row brick style integrated bracelet. The piece has an engine turned bezel that serves also as the hour markers, because what you have as the face of the watch is a largely unadorned white enamel dial with portraits of the Saudi king at the time, Saud ibn Abdulaziz, a hand wound piece, again 18 karat pink gold with a matching 5-row brick style bracelet. Once again, the length of the bracelet is something you should pay attention to. The piece comes from around 1953 and is in excellent condition, as Antiquorum testifies, with their AAA grade. The estimated value is 2,300 to 4,600 in US dollars. At 381, we have a Blancpain reference 6676. This is a Vieret complete calendar with a pointer date at the periphery of the dial, an added 24-hour hand for the GMT function with the 24-hour scale laid out around the center of the dial. You have a moon phase at 6 o'clock, and through 2 apertures, you have a day of the week and the month as well. So what you have is essentially a triple calendar or a complete calendar with not only a moon phase indicator, but also a GMT function as with the added 24-hour hand. The piece is in a 40.5 millimeter yellow gold case. It's from 2019. and comes with its international warranty card. The estimated value is 7,900 to 13,600 in US dollars. At 383, we have a new old stock example of a limited edition Frank Müller chronograph from 2010. In their characteristic tonneau-shaped case that harkens back to the Roaring '20s, the Frank Müller brand was quite successful with this case shape in the '90s. This particular example is a chronograph that pays homage to the country from which the Casablanca model takes its name. The edition is called Casablanca Marrakesh, and it combines the red and green colors of the Moroccan flag. We have a guilloche dial with a rosette pattern with slightly recessed and beautifully framed registers for the chronograph, a 30-minute totalizer at 3 o'clock, its continuous running seconds at 6, the elongated Arabic numerals, the stylized Arabic numerals, as well as the lozenge-shaped hands are filled with burgundy. The chronograph seconds hand, continuously running seconds hand, and the minute totalizer hand is filled with green. We also have a date through a porthole-like opening at 6. It is actually a pretty sporty look for this otherwise classic design with a quirky touch in 18 karat pink gold. This is one of 50 Casablanca Marrakesh, which comes with its original fitted box, certificate of origin, instruction sheet, as well as a push pin. It is expected to realize a final hammer price somewhere between 6,800 to 11,300 in US dollars. Another new old stock chronograph by Frank Müller here, Casablanca model, this time with nicely loomed and heat blued hands, the 2-register layout with the added date through a porthole at 6 o'clock. This stainless steel piece is actually presented on a matching 5-row beads of rice bracelets and an additional leather strap with contrast stitching and Frank Müller tank buckle. Once again, it comes with the original fitted box, certificate of origin, the instruction sheet, as well as the push pin. The piece has an estimated value of 4,600 to 6,800 in US dollars. Lot 384, Frank Müller reference 8885 CCCDT, Casablanca, new old stock, stainless steel chronograph, as a full set on a matching bracelet and an extra leather strap. The estimated value is 4,600 to 6,800 in US dollars. At 385, we have a beautiful 90s Breguet jump hour piece, one of only 400. $36 millimeter white gold case with those extended lugs, beautifully decorated case band, a white enamel dial that has Arabic numerals for the minutes, a single minute hand, Breguet style, heat blues, sapphire cabochon on the crown, and at 12 o'clock, you have actually a 24-hour expression of the hours for the jump hour. So every time the minute hand completes its revolution, the hour skips to the next. This is the Breguet reference 3420 at lot 385. One of 400 examples in 36 millimeter 18 karat white gold case with a white enamel dial and an estimated value of 7,900 to 15,800 US dollars. The last 45 minutes for today's broadcast. Feel free to direct any watch related questions to me with a super chat. You can also take a look at this auction. If you want me to look at any of these pieces that I skipped or that are ahead of me in some horological and historical detail, you can send me the lot number and I will do it with pleasure for you. At 388, we have an example of A. Langonzone, reference 101035, platinum with the black dial. This is a piece that is called by the collectors Darth because of its all black look. The case is in platinum, the dial is in black, but what completes the look is the black background on the oversized dates, which is inscribed in white, which gives the piece this severe and stark all black look on the dial, which again creates a striking contrast with the noble white metal of the case. Lot 388 is expected to fetch somewhere in the range of 28,200 to 39,400 in US dollars. At 389, we have an example of the A. Langonzone reference 116025 Zeitzone, time zone. This is Lange's take of on the world time. It is presented in an oversized Lange 1 case at 42 millimeters. The material in this case is platinum. You have a day and night indicator for both dials. And of course, the 24-hour cities ring for the 24 time zones on the periphery of the dial, which means in addition to the standards pusher at 10 o'clock for correcting the date, you also have an extra pusher at 8 o'clock, which allows you to actually switch the cities. Paris is replaced by Berlin for the maker of this, for the German maker of this particular timepiece. And we have an estimated value of 28,200 to 39,400 in US dollars. At lot 390, we have a Grand Lange 1 in yellow gold with a champagne dial, really champagne for the background, and then silver for the hours and minutes, and also the oversized seconds dial. The Grand case is actually in 41 millimeters. This piece comes on a 7-row beads of rice bracelet that is actually detachable, so it can be worn on a strap as well. But the bracelet is actually original in the sense that this is the Wellendorf bracelets that Lange used to commission from that esteemed jewelry house. This is lot 390, Count Lange 1, a 41 millimeter case with a unique champagne silver two-tone dial on a matching 18 karat 7-row beads of rice bracelet by Wellendorf. The piece has an estimated value of 33,800 to 45,100 in US dollars. At 391, we have a version of the Lange 1, so the 38.5 millimeter original case. But this time it is on an integrated Wellendorf bracelet in matching 18 karat yellow gold. Or in the style of a Milanese bracelet than anything else. Certainly a very unique look for a Lange 1 because the case is basically deprived of its lugs. So a very different aesthetic indeed for 391 with or on an integrated Wellendorf bracelet. This is a Lange 1 reference 151021 with an estimated value of 30,400 to 39,400 in US dollars. At 391, we have an example of the Lange 1, reference 101021 in yellow gold with its original box, warranty card, and the instruction booklet. An interesting deal indeed here, since the estimated value is between 16,900 to 22,600 US dollars. At the lower end of that estimate, this could be a very attractive purchase indeed. At 393, we have a very interesting example of an FP Jaune. Comes with its original box, serviced in August 2013. This is the Octa Lune. So the self-winding piece with the oversized date, power reserve indicator, and a moon phase indicator. Off-center seconds dial, of course. Off-center second subdial. In the 40 millimeter pink gold case. Guilloche decoration at the center of the dial. The heat blued hands are very striking. And the Arabic numerals complete what has become a very familiar look for a certain genre of FP Jaune pieces. This is lot 393 with an estimated value of 57,000 to 91,000 in US dollars. And you can see in this particular case how striking that unison of material, or that union of material, looks through the exhibition case back, framed by the 18 karat pink gold case. You have a movement that is fashioned out of 18 karat pink gold, and of course a 22 karat slightly off center rotor weight in pink gold with the barley corn guilloche decoration. Very striking indeed, with an estimated value of 57,000 to 91,000 in US dollars for this FP Jaune Octa Réserve de Marche Lune. At lot 395, we have a Rolex Datejust in yellow gold, actually presented on a president bracelet rather than Jubilee, which is rather unusual, even for a full gold Rolex Datejust. This is a piece that is from the mid 60s. It comes with a box as well, and the piece has the emblem, the logo of the Saudi Navy on its dial. The listing specifies it as the Saudi Armed Forces logo, but it actually says Al-Quwat Al-Bahriya, which means naval forces. So it is actually the Navy's logo rather than the armies. The crossed swords and the palm is, of course, part of the Saudi coat of arms. The piece is very unique and stunningly beautiful. Alpha hands with baton markers, thick baton markers, and the unique logo, not to mention the Eastern Arabic numerals for the dates. It is a very unique package indeed. At lot 395, this piece is expected to realize a final hammer price somewhere between 22,600 to 33,800 in US dollars. At lot 396, we have an OP, an underlined dial in 18 karat pink gold again, reference 1013. A silvered opaline white dial, perfect three-hander, of course, with a fluted bezel and on a matching Jubilee bracelet. The piece also comes with a presentation box. Its estimated value is 5,700 to 9,100 in US dollars. At 398, we have a very well preserved but early example of a Rolex Datejust. A beautiful silver sunburst dial. This reference 6605 is executed entirely in 18 karat yellow gold. The case, fluted bezel, and the Jubilee bracelet and all. It is in excellent condition, very well preserved. The background of the date wheel having taken on this champagne-like shade, it's just a beautiful step dial as well. The pie pan style, what a wonderful piece, and extremely well preserved as well. This is 395. Sorry, this is lot number 398. Rolex Datejust reference 6605 from the late 50s, executed entirely in 18 karat yellow gold. This piece is expected to fetch an amount somewhere between 13,600 to 20,300 in US dollars. Please hit the like button if you haven't already. It makes a huge difference. Really helps me boost the channel just a tiny bit. It does make a difference for a channel of this size. So if you haven't upvoted yet, please do. Sorry for that amateur hour mistake. We are back. At lot 400, we have an 18038 Rolex day date presented on a matching presidential bracelet, all in 18 karat yellow gold with brown fumé dial. In Rolex speak, this is brown dégradé dial, since it uh, gradiates from lighter shades of brown into something quite dark on the periphery of the dial. A very beautiful piece also that is factory set with diamonds, brilliant cut diamonds for most of the indices except 6 and 9, where we have baguette cut diamonds. This piece is from 1982, and its estimated value is 25,900 to 31,600 in US dollars. At lot 403, we have again a very interesting example of Arabic writing on the dial of a day date. This is a reference 1807 for the bark finish. It has a largely monochromatic look, except for the bark finish of the bezel and um, the center links. You might say it is even rather austere, especially because of the silver sunburst style matches so well with the rest of the white metal watch. The piece has right under the hand stack the signature of the Omani Sultan Qaboos, who has passed away already a few years ago. A very unique and interesting piece that is from mid 70s. White gold Rolex day dates on a matching presidential bracelets, bark finish on the center links and the bezel, and the signature of Sultan Qaboos on the dial. Lots 403 has an estimated value of 33,800 to 57,000 in US dollars. Lot 404 is actually a Rolex day dates on a leather strap and matching 18 karat yellow gold Rolex buckle with that coronet. It also has a champagne linen dial, so again, relatively monochromatic, classically elegant appearance. If you don't necessarily are chasing after the presidential bracelets, this could be an interesting watch to own and wear. I think it looks quite elegant um, and very austere for a president, to be honest, but still quite striking in its own way. This particular piece at lot 404, a Rolex day date 1803 with the champagne linen dial on the leather strap, has an estimated value of 5,700 to 9,100 in US dollars. At lot 406, we have an example of the so-called Zenith Daytona. This is the first generation of the Rolex Daytona with a self-winding movement. It is powered by Rolex's version of the Zenith El Primero Caliber 400, which in its turn was the first integrated self-winding chronograph caliber in the world, thus named El Primero. Rolex's caliber for 4030, of course, was a little different. The most important difference is the reduction of the high beat 5 hertz frequency down to 4 hertz. And of course, there's no date on the Rolex Daytona. The black dials are, I think, wonderfully sporty and very classically Rolex. If you look at this face very carefully, you will see that a lot of its outlines have been adopted and adapted to the new generation of the Daytona 126-500. I think that's a great homage to the first automatic Rolex Daytona that came out in 1988. As much as this year is the 60th anniversary of the Rolex Daytona, it was also the 25th anniversary of the automatic Daytona, which is an age opened with these masterpieces built on the Zenith El Primero caliber. This 16520 from roughly 1992 that comes with its original fitted box as well as its papers is presented with a pre-auction estimate of 16,900 to 28,200 in US dollars. At 407, we have the same generation of the watch. This one sold in 1994 in November. The Zenith Daytona with the white dial, reference 16520. Rolex Cosmograph Daytona in stainless steel. This piece has an estimated value of 22,600 to 33,800. It comes as a full set with its fitted box, punched warranty card, booklets, chronometer seal, and an extra link. At lot 408, we have a two-tone version with a white diamond set dial of the 6-digit Daytona, so the first generation of Daytona with the in-house caliber 4130. This is a piece that was made for the 40th anniversary of the Emirati National Bank in Abu Dhabi. produced in 2008 in this two-tone execution with a gem set white dial. You can see this beautiful wooden presentation box, the original warranty card, and on the back you have the special case back. This particular piece is expected to realize a final hammer price at lot number 408 between 30,400 to 41,700 in US dollars. At 409, we have this time an example of that Zenith generation, the 5-digit generation in yellow gold. I think these are stunning watches. You can still find some great deals on the secondary markets. The estimated value is a little, I think, out there for my liking for this lot. But still, this is an example that seems very well preserved, in stunning condition. The black dial with the champagne outer rings on the chronograph registers is a great complement to the yellow gold case. Of course, the entire package is presented on beautiful oyster bracelets in matching 18 karat yellow gold with polished center links. What a wonderful specimen. This piece has a pre-auction estimate of 39,400 to 62,000 in US dollars. At 411, we have a very important reference point for Patek Philippe, because this is reference 2526, which holds two important honors in the history of Patek Philippe. First of all, it is the first automatic Patek Philippe watch, and also the first automatic Patek Philippe Calatrava. It has a beautiful caliber that is discreetly beating away under a solid case back, but especially the decorations and on the bridge plates, as well as the rotor weight, which is made out of solid gold, are so stunning that some collectors, in fact, had their particular pieces customized with an exhibition case back to honor also this historically important caliber 12-600. The watch also has a stunning white enamel dial with gold beads on the minute track and small seconds at 6. A beautiful, beautiful piece, which comes with a matching 18 karat gold Patek tank buckle, and also an archival extract. This is lot number 411 for a Patek Philippe 2526 in yellow gold, with an estimated value of 28,200 to 39,400 in US dollars. I have about 10 more minutes to go. So I will try to cover as many watches as I can, but there's so much more. So we will catch up tomorrow as well. But in the meantime, if you want to support the channel, you know how. The links are provided in the video description. They are also pinned in the chats. If you join me on Patreon, you get on a daily basis exclusive content, at least 3 links to value propositions that I come across online. But since I curate them with a particular focus each time, whether it's on a single brand or a particular kind of complication or a specific genre of watches, I always justify my choices and give an account to them so it can become an educational and informative journey for everyone involved. So feel free to click the link and check it out. I think it's a very good deal. The tiers are very explicitly laid out. Once again, I am reminding you, again, with your permission and with your patience, this is a completely independent and autonomous channel. I'm not sponsored by anyone. I'm not in the pocket of any gray market dealers. I'm not directed by the industry. I'm completely independent, which means that I'm fully at your service, but I'm also at the behest of my audience. So your contributions make the light, keep the lights on. Your contributions keep me afloat. Your contributions helps this channel stay completely independent. So anything is appreciated. The super chats are available as well. In either case, I'm grateful for your presence and support. If you could at least hit the like button, that would already be quite a lot. With the 10 minutes I have left, I will try to cover at least 3 more watches. So let's go with this beautiful example of the 3970J. It is the 36 millimeter classic Patek Philippe perpetual calendar chronograph in 18 karat yellow gold. The piece comes with its certificate of origin, and it has an estimated value of 91,000 to 136,000 in US dollars. 3970 is built on the base of the Lemania CH27 caliber, which has given us also the Omega 321, the beating heart of the Moonwatch, of the Omega Speedmaster that went to the moon. We looked at another example of the 5040, but this one is in platinum. Again, you can see the beautiful tonneau-shaped case. The case is very reminiscent of Cartier's Tortue. Breguet numerals, Breguet hands on this stunning Patek Philippe perpetual calendar that is built on the base of the micro rotor caliber 240. A really elegant piece here, executed in platinum. So what we have is a 5040P with its certificate of origin at lot 416. The estimated value is 33,800 to 57,000 in US dollars. At 417, we have a 5110P. This is the Patek Philippe World Time from early 2000s, this particular example being sold in 2004 with the barley corn guilloche decoration in the middle. This particular execution is in platinum. The piece comes also with matching platinum déployant clasp and its certificate of origin. 5110 is in the classical sizing of 37 millimeters. And here at lot number 417, it is presented with a pre-auction estimate of 33,800 to 41,100 in US dollars. Same piece in white gold in the next lot, 417. This 5110G, the world time in white gold with silvered dial, barley corn guilloche at the center. The estimated value is 28,200 to 39,400 in US dollars. At 419, we have an example of the Patek Philippe Gondolo, Patek Philippe's rectangular Art Deco watch with the elegantly stepped flanks. This particular example is day date, hand-wound caliber with an 8-day power reserve. The power reserve indicator, as you can see, is at 12 o'clock. Dauphine hands for hours and minutes. And you have a pointer date at 6 o'clock, within which you have a small seconds dial. And within that small seconds dial, you have an aperture that shows you the day of the week, with an 18 karat white gold case, 32 by 45 millimeter. The piece comes again factory sealed as a full set at 419. The estimated value of this 5200G white gold gondola with the 8-day movement and the day date indicator has an estimated value of 22,600 to 33,800 in US dollars. All right, last two watches, then I will have to say goodbye for the night. Okay, I'm gonna leave that to last. We're gonna talk about 421. This is a Rolex reference 1680 from early 70s, feet first with red Submariner writing, beautiful dial. The watch itself is in a well-preserved condition, matched with a more recent version of the Oyster bracelet in the 93150, 93150. Basically the most modern Oyster bracelet you can match with a 4-digit Rolex Submariner. Let's put it like that quickly. An amazing piece, great example of the Submariner dates. It actually comes also with its original fitted box, punched warranty cards, punched chronometer certification, Submariner cigarette card, as well as 2 Rolex service papers from the end of that decade, from 1979, in excellent condition. Lot number 421 is Rolex reference 1680, red Submariner with a feet first dial. This piece is expected to fetch an amount somewhere between 24,800 to 36,100 in US dollars. All right, the last watch of the day. We have a very special annual calendar from 1999 from Patek Philippe. This is a reference 5035 in pink gold, made in 100 pieces to celebrate the centenary of AC Milan Football Club. The piece comes with its original fitted box, certificate of origin, as well as the push pin and an Italian calendar as well. It could be an interesting way to celebrate AC Milan's return to the final four of the Champions League, to the semi-final of the Champions League. They have been absent from that kind of stage for quite some time now, for basically an entire decade. They're on the precipice of another European final, another European Cup final. They have 7 of them, only bested by the best of the best, which is Real Madrid, of course, with 14 titles to their name. Milan is playing against Inter, their rivals with whom they share a stadium. Both teams call it by a different name, though. The other pairing is Real Madrid against Manchester City, a very interesting group of 4 teams, all with a different goal. Manchester City wants to win it for the first time. Real wants to get number 15. Milan wants to come back to that center stage. Inter wants to get their 4th, which will get them one step closer to their arch rivals. Very interesting indeed. Again, lot 420 is this special edition, a limited run of 100 pieces of Patek Philippe's annual calendar, 5035R, made for the centenary of AC Milan, with a special dial that has the chevron markers and an Italian calendar. Nothing is said or shown about the case back, so I don't know if it has a customized commemorative engraving. One should certainly ask Antiquorum for a picture of that if there is something. But this is the last watch I'm presenting. It has an estimated value of 33,800 to 45,100 in US dollars. Once again, everyone, thank you so much. Thank you for your understanding, for the earlier interruption. I'm glad I was able to come back with the late show, and I was able to share with you, with my passion, some more wristwatches. I'll be back tomorrow with the late show. Hopefully, we'll have more freewheeling, free flowing watch talk. Feel free to jump on the panel always. Feel free to interrupt me. Feel free to send in your questions. I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. If you want to contribute to the channel, the links are there pinned in the chat. They are also in the rolling ticker now, included in the video description. I really appreciate your presence and support. Every contribution helps. It does make a big difference for the size of this channel, uh, for the independence of this channel, for the autonomy of this channel. It's all important. Please hit the like button on your way out. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Take care. Oh, no worries, man. Thank you so much. 15 shekels. Thank you. Thank you. Don't worry about it. We'll come back. We're here, man. We're here. We're going to be here for a long time. Don't worry about it. We'll catch up. Love you, man. Take care.